All right, guys, part two. Now, in June 2010, not long after I started my freshman year at Alabama State University, the plan was just to visit him in Virginia. He actually booked me a flight, but I missed it because I didn't have a ride to the airport. Now, we didn't make new flight arrangements. Instead, towards the end of June, he and his roommate, who he actually shared military housing with at the time, referred to as PPV, drove from Virginia to Alabama to come get me. Now, I want to say this is where things began to shift because, like I said, I did not have any intentions on moving to Virginia with him. However, I ended up packing up my dorm room. I turned in my keys to move to Virginia with him. Now, at that time, my brother was attending the same college as me, but I didn't tell him I was leaving. When I saw him around campus inside of the cafeteria, I would, he already knew that we were engaged. But when I saw him for the last time before I left, I didn't tell him that I was leaving. Now, I didn't know how quickly everything was about to change. And I actually had made a few friends by then. People I live with in the dorm rooms. One of the Pacific friends I had grown especially close to helped me pack up my dorm room that day that I was getting ready to leave because I didn't have much. I mean, a chest and a couple of items. I don't remember, it wasn't much, but though I didn't know at that time, she would later give me and my baby girl a place to stay deep into my marriage. Now, I want to let you guys know the first morning I was in his room, I was organizing my clothes and I found used contraceptives. Now, it was the first red flag, but I chose to ignore it because I was set on getting married and keeping hope alive. This is somebody that I had known for years at that point, and I trusted him. I had not been educated on things like that, so I assumed he was being honest, and I wanted to trust his word. All right, guys, so sorry, my camera cut off. Now, I do want to say I was young and naive at 18, bushy-tailed and bright-eyed for love. And I didn't know any better when it came to men. So I actually ended up texting him about the situation, and he said that he had used the contraceptive to relieve himself into. I want to make sure that I'm kind of kid-friendly or, not saying too much. Now, I called a friend and mentioned it, but I ended up brushing it off. And actually, just a week after arriving in Virginia on July the 2nd, as I mentioned, of 2010, we ended up getting married at the courthouse. Now, his roommate rode with us to the courthouse and was our witness. We actually didn't get a chance to wear anything fancy. Though I asked him to wear his dress whites, that's something that you have when you're in the Navy. He didn't want to wear his dress whites. He ended up wearing tennis shoes and a polo t-shirt and some jeans, which I ended up obliging him by wearing a actual simple t-shirt and some jeans myself. Now, I was hopeful for a wedding later on down the line, which, just to let you know, it never happened. It never came, which is okay. I ended up finding out after we got married that he was preparing for an underway, which is considered like a little Navy and deployment. It's about 2 weeks normally. Now, with him preparing to leave, we both agreed that it would be best for me to return to Georgia and continue my education. And I do want to say during this time, I had my friends and my family blowing up my phone. They had began reaching out to me. Of course, everybody was concerned about how fast everything was moving. Now, my family didn't know I had eloped and left school and uprooted my life in a matter of weeks. They didn't know that. They just knew that I wasn't at school. Like I said, my brother was down there as well, and it was just something that they ended up finding out. Now, I thought I was building a future, but I didn't realize how alone I'd soon feel. That moment was the start of me learning that love without a foundation isn't enough, and that sacrificing your path too early on comes with the cost. So with that being said, I know I always say this, so sorry. But like I said, with that being said, I did not know what I was getting myself into. I just knew that I was excited about, getting married. I just knew that I was marrying somebody that I had known since I was 14. This was a person that I had pretty much grown up with I was 18 when we got married. I really cared for this individual, and I was willing to risk certain aspects of myself and my life that now as an adult I realized that I shouldn't have done. Like I said, I'm getting ready to post part 3. Well, it might not be tonight because it's a little later on in the day that I'm recording, but I will be posting part 3. My story is a little longer, so I'm trying to kind of break it down and not put too much information in it, but just kind of get to give you guys the picture of things. But just know I realized my mistakes as a grown woman. And like I said, if this story can help, you know, a teenage girl is currently going through the situation of making a decision. I know our world has evolved so much to where people aren't really in relationships like that. And if you are, it's an interesting thing. I don't really feel like a lot of people are looking for marriage at this moment. If anything, a lot of people are going in a toxic direction of just wanting to date and have benefits. They're not looking for marriage. Like I said, when I was 18, I wasn't per se looking for marriage, but I ended up getting into a situation with a old friend of mine's, obviously. And we were close, and I took that chance, which, like I said, has changed my life. And I'm still going through things. It's cost me a lot, and it's cost me a lot of time. So like I said, let me put up the correct fingers, look for part 3. I'll probably be posting it maybe tomorrow or perhaps the day after, but I won't prolong it too long in between these videos. And thank you guys for watching. Like I said, hopefully it touches somebody who needs to hear this, who's gone through the same thing, or perhaps maybe, you know, going through it, to make the correct decisions before you get yourself into that situation. All right, guys.